This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of 1 week's FDP on enhancing pedagogy through experiential learning. I welcome you all. My name is Mrs. Nagamani, Assistant Professor, Sanskriti School of Business, Sri Satyasai District, and it's my honor and privilege to be the moderator for the day 4 session. And our resource person is Dr.M.Bala Koteswari, and today's title is Sustainable Education Through Experiential Learning. So let me talk about the main objectives of this session. And first one is to explore and expose teachers to various pedagogies while combining crucial pedagogical knowledge, abilities, dispositions, and commitments for high-level practice. And to help teachers understand and implement various experiential learning methods that impact the objectives of higher education. And I welcome the resource person for today's session, Dr. M. Bala Koteswari, Professor, Dean Academics of SGI and Principal of Sanskriti B School, Puttapatti. And I welcome all the faculty members from various institutions. I welcome you all. A warm welcome to everyone present here. And now, let me introduce today's resource person, Dr. M. Bala Koteswari, Principal and Dean Academics, Sanskriti School of Business. Madam holds PhD, MBA, MSc, PGDHRM, and B.Ed. And she is the Dean Academics and Principal, Sanskriti B School. She believes in teamwork and emphasizes on colleges and universities that should be reputed with the contribution of teachers in teaching, research, consulting, and meeting the stakeholders' requirements and establishing sustainable educational institutions. She transforms workstations into enjoyable, positive, and vibrant environments. Specialized in human resource management, organizational behavior, and does research work on behavioral issues in organizations. She is a gold medalist in industry psychology and completed PhD from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. Has 16 years of research, teaching, and industry experience altogether, guiding PhD students in psychology, education, and management disciplines, and doctoral committee member for Reva University and on PhD evaluation board of various universities. She has been an active researcher, having presented her work in national and international conferences of repute, published papers on socially relevant topics in domestic and international journals, and has contributed chapters to several books. She is the editor for journals and has been panel expert for various symposiums, seminars, and conferences. Associated with National Commission for Women, Government of India in building legal awareness among young students. Current areas of research include corporate social responsibility, energy management, green HRM, building values and positive attitude among youth, stress management, social entrepreneurship, and transformation in education. She strongly believes that right mindset of the youth nurtured by teachers can create wonders for the nation. Profession of teaching is a responsibility towards society and nation. Teachers only can transform the nation. And we are really happy to have you, ma'am, such a great personality among us. And before I welcome you once again, ma'am, thank you for being with us today. Before handing over the session to the speaker, here are a few instructions to the participants. Please pay attention. In order to conduct the session in an uninterrupted way, all the participants are muted. Kindly cooperate with us. After the speaker completes her talk, time will be provided for question and answers. Participants shall be unmuted as they raise their hands. Feedback link shall be shared with you before the question and answer session. Please fill it. Let's start the session and over to the resource person, Dr.Bala. Over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and I welcome all the participants to the session. And I have a request, madam, through the session, maybe at some points I would ask to you to unmute the participants, if at all any interaction is
Sure, ma'am.
required.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Kindly bear with me for this. And
Sure, ma'am. We would love to interact with you.
yeah, a very warm welcome again. And this FDP is very, very thoughtfully designed and planned by the coordinator, FDP coordinator, Dr. Rajesh Babu. And we have been looking into various FDPs of identifying any specific such program happened in the experiential learning. And we were not able to find. So we
Madam,
that, we thought that would be a gap to understand and fill it with this kind of FDP program. And floating this program has been a great learning experience for us, being an organizing team from Sanskriti School of Business. And I got an opportunity to take a session today, which is on sustainable education through experiential learning. So this normally we see that in any learning scenario, learners learn better when they have hands-on experience. So that is the major insight for this methodology called experiential learning. So with this quote, I would start that I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. So this applies for all of us because all of us are also learners. So moving forward, I wanted to just take you through what is expected from this session in terms of explaining what the learners can take away, participants can take away from this session. And this focus on sustainable development and especially about the sustainable education. What does sustainable education mean basically? And we will also explore on the sustainable education and how national education policy has embraced certain concepts from the sustainable education, followed by experiential learning. And also we'll see how the shift of curriculum happened post NEP because that plays a major role in bringing experiential learning into the curriculum directly. And also we'll try to analyze experiential learning and try to map it with the Bloom's taxonomy or where does the education objectives in terms of achievement stand it. And we'll also try to see how experiential learning can be integrated with the teaching learning process by the faculty from various teaching fields like commerce and management are basically, I think, faculty members who are available here. And we'll also look at various student-centric methods. Apart from experiential learning, there are other methods also, which right now we are talking about experiential learning alone. So we'll try to focus what are the other methods available. And also what is the role of teacher in the experiential learning method. So moving on to the first topic, and this slide might not be very new because as a faculty, most of us would be aware about the Sustainable Development Goals, which was floated by the United Nations in 2015, where 193 member states have taken an oath of taking up these goals and made an agenda by 2030. All the 17 sustainable goals having 169 related targets should be accomplished, which are addressing the economic, social, environmental, and governance issues. And this is not for one nation or one country. It is for the it is a global phenomena which has started and which we are seeing that it is slowly percolating into the policies of the respective countries and reaching out to the grassroots level to see its impact. So there are 17 goals
Ma'am,
which are
sorry to interrupt.
Yes, madam.
The audience are saying volume is little low. Could you please increase the volume, ma'am?
Okay, I'll try. I'll try and increase. If I can go back to my volume. Yeah, actually, it is full. The volume I have used is full. Is there any problem? I could not see anything. Because the volume is full as per me. I can use earphones and try once.
Yeah, ma'am.
Let me use my earphones. Give me a second. Is it better now? Is it better than before?
Yes, ma'am. It's better, ma'am.
Okay. We shall continue. So these 17 sustainable development goals, I'm sure all of us would have heard about it, but just to project that the sustainable development goal 4, which is quality education, it has a major impact on the rest of the goals also, because education is something which can actually change the entire phenomena and will be able to accomplish the goals much faster, and the change can actually start in a very impactful way with a change in one goal, and the impact which goal 4 is created. So these are the 17 goals, starting with no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, and gender equality, followed by clean water and sanitation, affordable clean energy, and rest all. See, all these goals can be accomplished provided the education, the roots of every youth is from inculcating the right education at the school, at the college, at the higher education institutions. So this can actually change the entire game. So that is why I've tried to project all the goals to see that how education has have a major impact. So just to have a glimpse on what is sustainable development, like meeting the needs of present. We are able to enjoy everything what we are enjoying, right from the environment to the nature to the resources. But are we able to protect it for the future generation? Are we able to protect it not only for our needs, for our future generations and our future requirement also? So if we are able to do it, then all our practices are sustainable and it is going to help the humankind. So the three issues which are addressed in sustainable development are the environmental protection and enhancement, the social progress, and the economic development as well. How does sustainable education look like? So when we say practices of sustainability in education, so what we can do, what practices we can bring in? It actually need to instill responsibility in the students through the delivery of curriculum, through the faculty members. If the system is able to inculcate this responsibility and make them accountable for their work, make them responsible for what they are doing for their future, then we call it as a sustainable education. And if the education is able to impart values, and if the education is able to build the capacity building, what I mean is building the human resources in terms of faculty, students, utilizing the capacity, utilizing the maximum potential of the human resources. Right now, with the curriculum in place and with the faculty taking up their classes and completing the syllabus, we are raising it. But somewhere we are not utilizing or we are not leveraging on the capability of the human resources. So if you are able to tap that potential, then we call it as capacity building. Might be research, might be publications, might be participation of students in innovation, creative activities. various activities which actually triggers the learning and creativity comes under this capacity building. And education which addresses triple bottom line, that is your people, planet, and prosperity, and educating to influence students with responsible and sustainable practices, might be green practices within the organization, might be the practices in terms of building their own strengths for their betterment and nation as well. So with all these things, I am sure business schools and colleges will be able to churn out good business leaders for the society who are going to have a better sustainable environment for their employees and for their customers and for their stakeholders in the future. So how does sustainable education look like? Means it allows everybody to have knowledge and skills attitude which is required to shape the future. uh, Somewhere I feel that we are not very much concerned about our nature, about our environment for the future, about conserving the resources for the future. So if the education system is able to provide this kind of knowledge, skill, and attitude, then the objective is met. So what kind of things we can inculcate is sensitivity on climate change, disaster risk reduction, biodiversity, in fact, gender diversity also, poverty reduction, sustainable consumption of the resources. So how does this happen? When the learners participate in the teaching learning process, and when we empower the students, when we give a chance for them to embrace, to experience, to realize what is about delivering their best and what is about sustainable development. So how through in what way they are able to do it? By critical thinking, by imagining future scenarios, or identifying the problems in society and trying to come out with solutions, or predict the future possibilities and try to address them well in advance, and that too in a teamwork. So how do we bring it? Actually, I have made the presentation into 3 segments. The first segment would talk about sustainable education and what SDGs are talking about. The second segment, I would talk about the nation education policy, which has tried to integrate the SDGs into the education system. The third segment, I would talk about the experiential learning, which is actually the theme of our FTP, and how this sustainable development has experiential learning has been instrument for achieving of this sustainable development for our nation. So in line with that, now I'm going to take you through the strategies to integrate the sustainable development into the curriculum. Already it has been implemented in the new syllabus and revisions which has been happening. And time to time, I think universities, colleges try to revise the curriculum and try to meet the requirements of the new education policy. So one way is integration of sustainability concepts across the curriculum. In whatever semesters we are having, integrating it with the subjects which are relevant, which are inculcating the values, the addressing the triple bottom line into the subjects. And this is possible for mostly for the universities who have liberty or autonomy to design their syllabus. They can design in a much better way. Apart from that, affiliated colleges who are actually following the university syllabus where they're affiliated to, they have liberty on providing activities, providing add-on courses or a value addition to it. In case that flexibility is not there with them. So in any case, curriculum can be enhanced or enriched with the sustainability concepts in it. Teacher training and professional development is very, very important. Even if we integrate the subjects into the curriculum, still teachers need training. They need to be equipped. They need to have enough skill to deliver it to the students also. So training them is very, very important. Community involvement, because whatever we are addressing as sustainability, we are not living in a vacuum. We are living in a society. We are living among a community, in a community where we need to take care of it. So unless community interaction is there, unless community participation is there, these kind of practices are tough to go ahead and be successful. Collaboration and partnerships, because these things are very much emphasized because institute actually exist in an environment which has two environments, as we talk in the business terminology, macro and micro environment. When you look at the surroundings of any institute, there are a lot of NGOs, lot of collaboration opportunities and partnerships which are available either privately or with the government organizations. Lot of resources leverage can be done in terms of taking up projects, taking up initiatives of improving the neighborhood. And technology by itself integrated what we are using for our teaching learning process to enhance sustainable development, accessing information, and for communication also we are using technology a lot. After all this, what is more important is monitoring and evaluation. How far our practices we are able to succeed and how much impact it has created has to be monitored and evaluated from time to time. So these are few strategies which we can follow in order to integrate sustainable development into the curriculum. So as I said, whatever I said has been already thought of, and NEP has brought it into its National Education Policy 2020, which actually outlines the Indian education system. All the 17 goals of sustainable development has been integrated into various policies of Indian Constitution, through which one of it, what we are discussing, is about the national education policy, which is directly linked with our education system. So this NEP provides a comprehensive framework that there is a learning crisis. Whatever we have been following in the past, there's a requirement of expecting a sea change in how the scenario has been from a teacher centric to a student centric. So with this, and also they thought about the holistic development of the learner. Talk about cognitive development, social development, emotional, and also physical well-being. So it is a holistic development of the learner, which is more sustainable for an education system. It is not alone dumping the material in the heads of the students. It is also taking care of physical well-being. It is also taking care of emotional well-being. So they also, I highlighted it in the blue color, the special emphasis which they have done is, the NEP especially focuses on critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, and collaboration. These skills specially prepare the students for the future challenges. So which has been specially emphasized in the national education policy. And this is a crux for our experiential learning also, because this is all these skills eventually they develop through the experiential learning. So there is a mention of experiential learning in the NEP 2020. It says that this encourages students to learn through real world experiences in the form of projects, practical applications, internships, etc. So apart from giving a scenario of experiential learning in gap, there was also a mention of flexibility and choice, which already brought into practice in various universities and their curriculum. An integration of technology and multidisciplinary learning anyway comes as a part and parcel of management education. Why? Because management discipline itself is multidisciplinary. So you have a combination of stats, you have economics, psychology, social science, anthropology, all become together and stand as a management. So we are lucky that we are already a multidisciplinary learning, but in terms of research, in terms of collaborations, more multidisciplinary avenues are required, as mentioned by the NEP, National Education Policy. So if we look at the traditional way of the learner, how they approach in terms of curriculum development, what is the role of stakeholders? Normally, the stakeholders give their inputs. We call stakeholders like faculty, students, industry, or the employers, alumni, parents. They all give their inputs, and we call board of studies who design the curriculum, keeping in view the requirement of the stakeholders, or say taking the feedback from them, and then the curriculum is designed and which is delivered in traditional way by using teacher-centric methods. But the shift has happened right now. I'm taking you to the point of the SJDs and NEP's role also in the designing curriculum. We keep the stakeholder requirement in mind But along with it, the Sustainable Development Goals and its integration in the NEP 2020 had made a huge difference in designing the curriculum, which is more sustainable, which is more learner centric, which is more relevant for the current scenario or the current mindset of the students also. So how is it delivered? Student centric methods, including our experiential learning, problem solving methodology, and participative, and of course class discussions, debates, etc. So we can see a shift in how the curriculum is designed and how it is being delivered has transformed drastically the past to present. So we'll be wondering why there are many, many ways of learning, why we have to focus on experiential learning, because the retention rates are very high. This is as per the research. Whatever I'm talking, I have had a base of, referred so many articles and papers, and I have tried to put the presentation. Even if I am anywhere missing out or anywhere contradicting any points, we can take it in the discussion time. Especially the experiential learning, which is learning by doing, has a larger percentage of retention for the learners because they're actively engaged and it is a hands-on experience for them and they are solving the real life problems. So if you look at discussion groups and all, 50% retention, practice by doing 75%, and teach others and the immediate use has a larger extent of retention. So looking at the retention rate and from the training institute, which I have got this data, it is all the way good that teachers start adopting the experiential learning as their teaching methodology. I will not go deep into the methods because I think all the 3 days, every speaker has spoken about various methods. And yesterday there was a good interaction session, which I was also there. I was listening to Rajesh sir when he was in the session. So a lot of discussion happened on these methods. So I will quickly switch to a small interaction session, as in I want to hear before we move to the next part of the presentation. I want to hear from the participants as in what experiential method you have used and what is your experience from there. If anyone can share.
Dear participants, you can raise your hand so that we will unmute you.
I'm sure you people would have used some of the methods. It might be case study, it might be role play, it might be internship where you might be mentoring them. Any method, you share your experience. Yeah, Dr. G.P. Nagesh sir had raised the hand. Can you allow him, please?
Ma'am.
Hello. Hello.
Sir, you're
Hello.
audible. You're audible. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon, sir.
My point is that NEP has been rolled out with a lot of expectation of having this kind of experiential learning and so many things. But NEP is happening as per its expectation, or are we prepared well with all type of infrastructure requirement for NEP, or what kind of things you are advocating to make it more effective? Because the things which were planned in the before, that is not happening. Will it take more time, or we have to change our mindset, or some changes being required in the policy, or all stakeholders should join hand, or what is your take on it?
Yes, sir. Actually, still we have to get up to the actual idea of bringing the changes, what is expected and how it started. Slowly, we are seeing that change is happening and starting from the schools to, at the primary level, secondary level, tertiary level. slowly we are seeing the changes, sir. As far as my experience is concerned, we are an affiliated college. We are affiliated to JNU. So
Yeah.
the 2020 NEP, when it is released, our syllabus was revised in 2021. And they have brought in this experiential learning project and also the electives which students can choose and share, which was partially available earlier also. And slowly, we are seeing, sir, it doesn't happen drastically, but we are seeing that it is being coming into implementation slowly. But of course, as you said, challenges are there in terms of preparing the faculty, equipping the faculty with the required skill and also infrastructure. Challenges are there, sir. Slowly, maybe we will all adapt and try to meet the requirement of the stakeholders, sir.
What do you say, madam? What is the immediate requirement? Is it a mindset that is more important, or other supporting system is more important? What do you say to make it is more effective?
Sir, initially the mindset, because unless we are ready to accept the change, that is initially. But apart from physical infrastructure or the resource readiness, apart from students, our faculty, as I said, that is what I put in my coming slides. But if a faculty is taking up student-centric method, faculty should be trained enough. They should be upskilled. They should be reskilled. That is happening, but not to the requirement level. That is what I personally feel.
Fine, madam. What do you say about getting some industry exposure? That is, sabbatical facilities are not available in many cases. In such cases, how faculty can equip himself with regard to the changes which is happening in the corporate?
Yes, sir. Right now, because of the blessing in disguise, because of COVID, we are all connected. Maybe wherever we are sitting remotely, like take an example of this FDP, how we are connected. Like this, we are able to connect to the industry experts also. Call them as a resource person to your conference or invite them for the webinars. Of course, physical interaction and one-to-one interaction, that is not replaceable anyway. But if the resource people are staying abroad or they're staying away and where they cannot come and talk to you in your campus to your students directly, then there is a facility of this online mechanism which we are already using it. So we can leverage on this industry interactions, sir. That can always
student perspective, it would be okay. I'm talking about teachers' perspective. How can they get such kind of experience, a kind of hands-on experience, what is happening in the industry? And so do we have any kind of support or maybe system to support for such kind of learning so that will be passed to classroom?
Yes, sir. Ideally, faculty has to go for regular refresher course and upskilling courses, either academically or from the industry. They are supposed to go and upskill themselves. But because of various reasons, academic, administrative, and overlapping of semesters, this has been little slow. It has been happening, but not to the level which is required or supposed to be. More or less, this catching up is happening in terms of faculty doing courses which are relevant for the industry, which are connecting with the industry scenarios. Maybe to some extent we are able to catch up, but as I said, there is a gap, sir. There is a gap here, which all of us need to fix.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Sir, I wanted to hear as in which experiential learning method you have used and what is your experience? What are the pros and cons of that method?
Yeah, it is more of case study.
Okay.
So it would be live case or maybe the case which is available in the public platform. But only my expectation is that do we have any kind of system where a teacher or the person who coaches, he is having some kind of exposure. He can deliver the things in a much effective way. That's what my point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ideally, there should be here in the Western scenario, it happens that a professor should already have an industry exposure that they come for teaching. But in our scenario in India, that we have a good amount of teaching experience and few years of industry experience at the early years of the career, and we choose to be in the as academicians and we deliver. But how do we bridge it is through the live courses and probably going through a lot of practical scenarios and experiences, talking to the industry people. This would probably equip the faculty to give experience when they are dealing with the case studies.
It's more of collaborative learning that you are
more of collaborative learning, writing case studies and demonstrating case studies, and this is one way which faculty can catch up. Yes. Is there anybody who want to share about your experiential learning method? And maybe you had some challenges. Or shall we move ahead? Anybody want to speak? I can wait. Okay, we'll move on. Maybe you might get little more time to discussion at the end also. So let me take you through quick methods of how this, some of the experiential learning methods. How does they help the students in terms of how much involvement is required and what is the involvement of mentor, etc. So if you look at job simulation, where individual trainees, they are performing a job and exploring their career field, and this can be an individual or a team, because some of the work scenarios or projects are working in teams, some are individual. So in either case, a student or a learner is getting a job simulation experience, and the exercises generally result in production of deliverable and may be guided by mentors at work. And probably it might last from 1 day to several weeks, and they might operate from either home or on campus. And sometimes they're self-guided. They themselves drive and then they themselves understand and complete. Sometimes the staff might coordinate, and mentor might or might not be required, because if they are self-driven, they are able to catch up with that. So employer visit to the site, going to the employer site and then learning. This is very interesting, because the trainer will like to understand the work setting of how does the work look like. I have learned the HR concepts. How is it really applicable there? I have learned the organization has a hierarchy. How does it look in the organization? So these experiences are live experiences which they get when they go to the employer site, and then they try and be available there and observe the things what are happening there, which is of great help. It might be from ranging from days to weeks, etc. And obviously, if they are going to a office, it has to be on site, going to the campus, and of course, the staff mediates there, and mentor might have few students with him to support and help them to proceed forward. Job shadowing, another method of this experiential learning, where it is a professional at work for the purpose of observing and experiencing the work environment and learning what are the expectations does the employer has from the employee. So you are basically understanding the entire scenario and then trying to experience it. It might range from 3 to 14 days. It can be off campus, on campus, and it is facilitated by the faculty. And there can be a one-to-one mentor to shadow. And lastly, the internship, which is working in a professional setting and getting a hands-on training, where the trainee is able to acquire the skill during the experience, and he is able to deliver the results also, which ranges from 1 month to 3 months. Uh, if it is between the semesters, it might be 1 month. If it is completion, depending on the duration in which the students are able to do, depending on their schedule and their academic calendars. It can be both off campus or on campus. And of course, faculty need to guide, mentor, and then facilitate the students to complete the task. So these are few of the methods which I have presented here in terms of how the learners are able to catch up and what are the requirements and the duration of their practice. So there is an interesting cycle which is called Cope's learning cycle. He explained the experiential learning very wonderfully, and I'm sure some of the participants would have gone through. He says that a learner would undergo 4 different kinds of experiences. Experiential learning is nothing but experience of the learner. So what kind of experiences they will have? Concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. And not necessarily the step 1 will remain step 1 and step 2 will remain step 2. It can be the learner can start with step 3, but they will eventually go through these 4 steps. So that is what he explains, that the experience the learner will undergo ranges from concrete experience to reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. So let me explain one by one with an example. So, for example, if I am joining an internship, concrete experience is what where I go start working and try to feel what the work will look like and try to experience it, understand the work setting, understand the people there, and I really feel what I am doing. And reflective observation is again coming back and checking what you have observed, what you have checked, what you have practiced, what you have learned from the work setting. And now abstract conceptualization talks about applying it to the theory, whatever concepts you have learned. You have seen the HR department, but coming back and checking whether what functions are being performed in the HR department. Is it what exactly you have seen when you went and experienced it, concrete experience? So abstract conceptualization talks about linking your theory concepts to what you have actually experienced. And now the active experimentation talks about, with all this backdrop of understanding, feeling, observing, thinking, now you're able to perform effectively because all these are working in your background of giving the confidence of delivering also. So this a learner can start from reflective observation, first watching, then thinking, then feeling, and then doing also. So it is not necessary that they start with step 1 and end with step 4. So he also further explained that the feel and watch, the diverging, which is a combination of concrete experience and reflective observation. So the feel watch concept is what he calls as diverging, where the learner is able to exhibit, able to feel, able to watch. And abstract conceptualization and reflective observation, he calls it as think and watch, assimilating. The learner is absorbing, the learner is able to assimilate, the learner is able to think by watching. And active experimentation and abstract conceptualization, together called as converging, where they think, the learner will think and then do. And accommodating talks about feeling and doing, which is a combination of active experimentation and concrete experience. Let me give one more example of learning to drive a car. So concrete experience, you sit in the car and feel the steering, feel how the car is moving, feel the brake, feel the clutch. Reflective observation, you are observing somebody doing it. Many times, curious learners will sit in next to the driving seat and then they observe how they are changing the gear, how they are moving the steering, how they are looking into the mirror, etc. Abstract conceptualization, you are thinking about how does these concepts work, how does the gear work, how does the clutch work, how does your airbags work. Everything is theoretically you are seeing, and finally active experimentation talks about you are going and actually driving efficiently with all these experiences in your mind. So this Scopes learning cycle gives us a comprehensive information on what is experiential learning and what are the various aspects which the learner will go through, which is feeling, watching, thinking, and doing. So when we try to map all educational objectives, we take reference of Bloom's taxonomy. So when we look at experiential learning method, how can we map it with the learning objectives, with the education objectives in the Bloom's taxonomy? I'm sure Bloom's taxonomy must be very, very popular and known to all the faculty here. So in the Scopes learning cycle, every aspect of it is mapped with the learning objectives here, which you can see on the right-hand side. If you look at the abstract conceptualization, it is mapped with remembering and understanding. So the more you understand abstract and you try to remember, try to understand, we talk about abstract conceptualization. Reflective observation, we are addressing the two objectives, analyzing and evaluating. You're thinking, you're analyzing, you're evaluating about the experience what you had. Concrete experience is linked to applying, and active experimentation is linked to creative. You are now getting into creating new things or demonstrating new things, which is meeting the requirement of the educational objectives, which are explained in the Bloom's taxonomy. So what is the role of teacher in the entire process of experiential learning? So here, if we look at, as I said, no, every teaching methodology, there is a competency required for a teacher. Especially for the experiential learning, as Sir was also talking, Nagesh sir, that case study, if you are referring, if you have worked in the industry, you have worked in the live scenario and you have experienced yourself, the delivery of teaching will be different. The way you give information to the students will be different. Like that, for every method, whatever you are using in experiential learning, uh, the teacher is the facilitator. It is not about filling the knowledge, filling the information to the students. It is about enabling them to think. Because experiential learning, you are helping them to learn by doing. You are enabling them to think critically. You are enabling them to solve the problems. So the role of the teacher is being a facilitator. So it is more like triggering them to think differently, have real world experiences. So the teacher or the faculty should be able to design learning experiences for them, organize learning experiences that promote active participation, critical thinking, and reflection. So now what the teacher is supposed to do is plan the activities which will allow them to explore the concepts, solve the problems, give small activities, team activities where they can learn collaboration, come out with solutions for the pressing problems. Encouraging reflection. Students should be enabled to analyze their experiences. So the teacher should be able to mediate the entire process actually. So that is why we say the teacher should be competent enough to handle such kind of new methodology, for which again we have to look at upskilling them, look at training them also. So deeply connected with their experiences that articulate their thoughts, students should be able to do it where the faculty is encouraging, questioning. Many times, many teachers stop the students from questioning because majorly the reason is that some of the answers might not be available with the teacher. So one option is you say that, okay, this is a new thing. I'll go and check back and come back to you. Second thing is stopping the student and say, no, we are running out of time. No, this is a nonsense question, and we stop them. Instead, encourage reflection, encourage questioning, encourage insights so that they start becoming more curious of learning new things and projecting their ideas also. Structure and support, essentially the autonomy the student is getting. The teacher should provide support, provide proper feedback, as in they are going in the right direction. Is it meeting the educational objectives? This is very, very important for the teacher to navigate through the entire process. Assessment and evaluation. So end of any learning activity, there is a requirement of assessment and evaluation, because that is what helps us to understand whether whatever amount of time and information we have spent, is it productive or not. So how do you evaluate it? It is not only the acquisition of knowledge and skills, but also the application of learning, which is very, very critical and which is to be very, very practical also. This experience is going to stay with the students for lifelong. It is not only for the student, it is only for the teacher also to learn a lot of things in the process. And knowing various students' perspectives, questions, which is going to help the teacher also to grow together along with the students. I would like to deal with a couple of challenges also. One or two we have already discussed, but few more challenges of implementing this experiential learning is if you have a liberty of being autonomous university or a private university, or you are able to design your own curriculum, you can provide enough space in the curriculum itself for experiential learning, allocating weightage in terms of credits and in terms of work hours also for the classes. But if you take it a normal curriculum where it is already loaded, where too much of content is to be delivered, the teacher has restricted time. And if you look at the academic calendar, there are many cases. If you look at the odd semester in the calendar, there are a lot of holidays. So teacher will have shortage of number of teaching hours. So if the experiential learning has to be conducted, teacher need to really spend quality time in delivering what she or he want to deliver. For which it cannot be a 1 hour, it cannot be half an hour, it cannot be 10 minutes. No, they need more time because it depends on the ratio of student teachers also, and how many he or she is imparting this learning. So if the curriculum is too overloaded, the teacher will have difficulty of using this methodology. Even if it is used, it will be quick, it will be crisp, and the essence of it would not be achieved to the complete. And competent teachers, if this method, case study method or simulation method, role play method, group discussion, any method in order to use, the teacher, as we said, he or she should be facilitator. You are not just giving the information, but you have the information whenever students come out with doubts, whenever they need some navigation of in the discussion. The teacher should be able to navigate them and show the correct path where they are heading towards a problem solution or towards any new ideas and thinking also. And other important thing, yesterday also I was listening to the conversation that the basic challenge now is the motivation from the student side. So whatever we are providing, if the learner is not motivated, it is the biggest challenge actually. You have the best of the best technology, best of the best teaching methodology, but if the learner is not ready, if they are not hungry for knowledge, if they are not hungry to learn, then all our efforts as a teacher, as a faculty, as an administrator will not be fruitful. And certain points of time, limited resources, it might be as Sir said that faculty has to go to the industry and get the exposure, for which we have a lot of constraints that we don't get a long leave or the academics are too tightly packed. So many various reasons we have. It might be infrastructure. So we have limited resources because of which sometimes we are held up of not able to do it fruitfully. And when it comes to community engagement, majority of the experiential learning projects, especially what we experience because we are in the rural area here, we tell the students to go into the community, understand the problems, and through the project develop a solution, engage with the community, do programs which is relevant for the community. So if the community is not engaging with us, this experiential learning might not get the maximum advantage for the learners also. Because we are collaborating, even the other party, like the community also might not get benefited. And opportunities for collaboration, it is not only with the community, it is with the NGOs, it is with the government organizations, it is the neighboring institutes also. When we take up the projects, it can be a collaborative project also. So in order to make the experiential learning effective, there are advantages, but there are challenges too. But when there is a challenge, there is an opportunity also. So it is up to the teachers and up to the faculty and up to the institutes to see a good insight and a good opportunity in experiential learning, providing it as a learning methodology to the students, which is benefiting and which actually helps in a longer run advantage for the students also, which we call sustainable development. If your learners are able to think critically, if they are able to develop solutions for the pressing problems in society, in the environment, nothing like that. That is what we call about sustainable development. That can be very well achieved with this methodology, which is experiential learning. So no replacement for first-hand in experience. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me, I will learn. So this is little brief, and whatever I could share from my experience and little literature review I could do. maybe I've missed some points, or maybe there are some points which I feel maybe I have overrated or underrated certain points. So please pardon me if I have done that. But I'm open for any questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the enlightening session. Audience, do you have any questions? We will open now for the floor with question answers. Thank you, ma'am. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, no questions from the audience. Okay.
Before that, let me summarize the session. Let me highlight the points. Thank you for the enlightening session, ma'am, once again. So, madam has dealt with strategies to integrate sustainability, integration of sustainability concepts across the curriculum, teacher training and professional development, community involvement and participation, collaboration and partnerships, technology integration and monitoring and evaluation. These are really helpful, ma'am. We can also implement in our day-to-day life, and also to help the students and also learning systems. And madam has talked about national educational policy, and that is NEP 2020, learning by doing, active engagement with learning. And madam also has talked about COB's learning cycle, which is really helpful. Concrete experience, that is through feeling, reflective observation through watching, abstract conceptualization through thinking, and active experimentation with many examples madam has elaborated. Thank you so much, ma'am. And also reflections, encouraging students, support and structure, assessment and evaluation, and providing lifelong learning. That really made sense, ma'am. So let us listen from the audience. Audience, please raise your hand or type your questions in the chat box. I'll call on the priority of the participants. I hope everybody is clear. That's why they are not asking any question.
Hope so.
Yeah, ma'am, because you elaborated each and everything, right?
Hope so. Still, we can wait for a few seconds. Maybe they are still contemplating and thinking. So.
Still, we have time to take the questions. Madam is here to address.
We have to really appreciate the patience of the participants, because I'm sure on all working days you are pulling out time from 3 to 4:30 out of your busy schedule, and trying to learn something new, and ultimately it is going back to your classrooms only. So I really appreciate all your efforts in making out and taking time for this FDP, and especially our FDP coordinator and HOD, Professor Prashanti. So you will be hearing from her on Saturday. She has been doing her PhD in experiential learning only. So I am great. I am so lucky that I got an opportunity to be part of this session where I could share my experiences with little what I know. So
Indeed, we are also lucky, ma'am, to listen to you. I
Thank
once again take this opportunity to thank today's resource person, Madam Dr.Bala Koteswari, for a wonderful session and the participants on the topic sustainable education through experiential learning. I thank all the participants who attended this session with a lot of enthusiasm. Of course, it is not visible in the speeches, but of course, they are enthusiastic to be listening to Madam, and throughout the session, they are listening keenly. So,
Actually, there is a question, I think, from Dr. Satyanarayana
okay,
Kanakaya.
let me read, ma'am. Uh, yeah, his question is NEP is suitable to the Indian conditions and practically applicable. So he stated that, ma'am. Can you elaborate it, ma'am?
Yeah, actually, it is very much relevant for Indian conditions only. The national education policy keeping our culture, our circumstances, and our educational system only they have made the reforms, which has come in 2020. So slowly that is, percolating down into the various levels of education system from primary, secondary, and tertiary also. It will take some time to see the actual, outcome of it, because it doesn't happen so quick. Within a year, within 6 months, it doesn't happen. It happens eventually, as maybe we have to wait few more years for that, but it is very much appropriate for the Indian conditions and which is very, very practically applicable. But a lot of challenges are there. We need to train our teachers. We need to prepare the students' mindset to accept this change. We need to prepare our stakeholders to, understand and then accept it.
Yes, ma'am. For this experiential learning, actually, both the learner and teacher should be involved.
Yes, yes.
Then only we can bring sustainable practices. Thank you, ma'am, for emphasizing all these.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, as we say every day, all good things come to an end, and every end has a new beginning. Of course, every sunset brings the promise of a new dawn. Hope that today's session would add value to our knowledge, and hope to meet you all in tomorrow's session on 14th June. And the resource person is Dr. Rahul Vishwanath D, Associate Professor and Program Director, Ramcharan School of Leadership, MIT World Peace University, Pune, co-creation work as an experiential learning method. And his topic is co-creation world as an experiential learning method. Thank you all once again. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, ma'am, once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dear participants, I have shared the feedback link in the chat box. Please fill it. Thank you once again. We call it a day now.